Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
We have another author, and I always tell people when I'm interviewing people how much I love authors, and not just because their information's so good and so exciting or beautiful, or because I know what it takes to write a book. It isn't easy, and you have to be very dedicated, and you have to have a subject that really appeals to people, because every time you write something, there are people there that are, aha, yes, that was my deal. So today we have MARVA Simon, and she wrote a book called Oh No, Not My Baby, and that's how you felt, didn't you?
Yes.
I mean, it was like, what's happened here? I was supposed to have this great, great experience. Now, you have other children.
Yes, I do.
And I forget when you were trying to have, your son, was he in the middle? I forget where he was in the lineup of your children.
It's son number 2.
Number 2, right, I had forgotten that. So your first experience, did that go pretty easy?
Yes.
So when you had your first baby, it was okay, right?
It was okay. I had developed diabetes. But it wasn't as severe as son number 2.
Right. But then you had more children. And,
yes, I had 2 more children.
Yes,
so altogether I have 4 sons.
Okay. So let's just do this. Let's just talk about what it was when did the first shock come? Here you have the baby, but you actually had a hard time. Actually, you had a lot of labor pains.
Yes.
So tell us what your experience was, because, folks, this is going to be a very powerful story. You're not going to believe what MARVA and her little son went through.
The first experience, to make a long story short, when I was about to be to deliver the child, 8 and a half months, almost in my 9th month, I went into the hospital because the water bag broke on Thursday morning, and I thought I was in labor, and so when I went to the doctor on Thursday, was in contraction and stuff like that, and when the baby was supposed to be, I thought the baby was supposed to be born Friday morning, it turned crossway my stomach.
Did you feel that was happening when you knew something was not happening right?
I felt like something was going to happen in my subconscious mind, that something was going to happen because the way I felt. And so when the baby turned crossway my stomach, I knew that I was up for a challenge.
Yes. And so the doctor warned you, and he didn't want to do a cesarean.
No. He told me it was too dangerous to have a cesarean because when the child turned crossway your belly, it would be very dangerous. And the fact that I was diabetic and I had high blood pressure, he said I was a high risk pregnancy.
A high risk, right.
So he would not want to take the chance. So when he told me that it's up to the man upstairs talking about God, I knew that the situation was acute.
Yes.
And so
you just prayed.
I just prayed.
And how long did it take from the time that happened till you
that was Friday
delivered?
That was Friday evening. And so when they took me off the monitor and put me in the regular room from the labor room, then I went in that room and shut away and talked to God. And as soon as my husband came in the room that evening after work, and I told him the situation, then we started praying again. But I think even to this day, that baby have a mind of his own. Because even when mommy was praying and talking to him and rubbing my belly and asking please to move so he could go down to the labor canal to be born, he did not move at all. But when my husband came in the evening And then I told him the situation, and then we started praying. I think that kid heard the voice of his father. And
that's funny, the power, right?
The power of the male voice.
No
and then
kidding.
And then immediately that child make a 300 degree turn right down in the birth canal, and all I could do was scream out for the doctor.
Right, you quick, he's coming.
Oh yes, I said he's coming, and as soon as I made that scream, I could hear the nurses running from the room to come into my room, and I said,
right.
Okay, she's ready.
You needed a bucket for him.
Yes,
to go into.
They had to beg me, Mommy, please don't push, because when they looked, the head was coming.
Oh,
he was coming now.
Yeah.
And so they begged me not to push until they pushed me into the labor room.
Oh,
otherwise, he would have been born
right on
the
the floor or something.
At one point, he didn't want to come, and then the next minute, he wanted to come.
Yeah.
And so that was very, very exciting.
But the trauma, let's just not even go to the next level. The trauma of all that time, from the labor room until your other room, and then he came. You must have been exhausted.
Very exhausted, yes. I was exhausted in one sense, but at the same time, my faith was lifted up, because I know that I've been through this part.
Yes.
And I was relieved.
Yes.
At that point.
Okay, so here's Marva Simon and her husband. They have a baby boy, and you're so excited, but then what happened?
Then 2 days, then day number 1 went by, and they gave me the baby in my arm in the room, and everything seemed fine. But then on the second day...
Wait, let me ask you, how much did he weigh?
He weighed 8 pounds.
Oh, so he was a big guy.
It was a big guy, yes. It wasn't premature at all. It was a big guy. So when they gave me the baby one day, because I had a normal birth, with the expectation that the second day that I would be going home.
Of course.
So that day, which was the Monday, because he was born on the Saturday, and the Monday I was preparing for them to come and tell me that I'm going home, so they would discharge me and the baby. But lo and behold, I was in the room having lunch, and I heard footsteps coming down. So I was excited, oh my goodness, they're going to come to give me the good news that me and the baby's going home. But when I realized it was a sweet little older woman with a pink scrub on, that I saw coming into the room, and she said to me, Mrs. Simon, do you know? I said, do I know? Do you know that they're taking your baby away? Like I said in the book, that I sat with the tray on my table between my legs, and I did not know what happened with the tray and the food or whatever it is, but I ejected from that chair with the IV and everything on. I did not know myself at all. I sprung from that room and right to the nursery to find out what was going on with my baby.
Why didn't they come and tell you ahead of time?
I have no idea who sent the little elderly woman.
Yes.
Or if she overheard them talking. I have no idea till this day.
So they didn't come
what
and tell
happened.
you what was going to go on.
And that's what made me so furious.
Yes.
That the medical professional did not come themselves to tell me what happened.
Right.
That somebody had to come and tell me. And I was so furious. I had stitches. My pressure was high. I was in no condition to go home because when I heard that news. So when I went to the nursery, I saw the baby in the incubator was all stringed up with tubes all over him, from his head to his toe.
Whoa.
I could not recognize if I did not see the baby the first day, I would not realize that baby was mine. It was all strung up with a group of blue and white people standing around him. Then when I realized there were a team from New York Hospital coming to take him away to go to New York Hospital in Manhattan.
Oh my! And still, no one had spoken to you.
And no one had spoken to me. They were ready to take him off, but they would not. They could not send him away unless I had signed him off. So after a trauma, and I went crazy.
I'm sure.
If I talk too much, I feel like I want to
I
repeat
understand.
that day. It was so emotional.
Of course. I can feel that.
I was devastated. And so within my subconscious mind, I said, you know what, this baby is in danger.
Yeah.
Let me do what I have to do for a mother, because even when you're going through your craziness and all that, you're still, your eyes are open.
Yes. And you
to
saw
the reality.
Yeah, you saw that he was living, but he had problems.
Yes. And so I signed the paper. They gave Mr. Simon, we need to get a signature from you. So even though I was trying to demand answers,
yes,
then I realized that the baby was critical,
yes,
and it needed to go. So I had signed the papers. And then I stayed at the window and I watched them, when they went downstairs in the white van. I stayed at the window until he drove away.
Right. So they rushed him down.
They rushed him down.
And they knew what they had to do. So let's just tell our audience what happened. What was wrong with your baby?
When I realized what was up after the nurse and the nurses told me, they said that he was trying to have a bowel movement, and for some reason he couldn't pass his stool, and so he had an obstructive bowel problem, and that's very serious. Yes, and so he needed to have surgery right away.
You're so tiny when you think about that, right?
Yes. So tiny.
But at least they caught it. At least they caught the fact he couldn't have a bowel movement.
Yes. And so they sent him.
So the hospital they sent him to was specialized in things like that?
Oh, yes. It was New York Hospital in Manhattan. At that point.
And it must have been a pediatric center, because you can imagine what that must have been like for the doctor. Oh, yes. They had
skilled nurses and doctors there, because I don't know if anybody is familiar with New York Hospital in Manhattan, that they have very skilled doctors and nurses that work there. So that's why they sent him there. And so when I discharged myself, because I could not stay 1 minute longer without the baby.
And the husband, too. Your husband didn't even know this yet.
No, because he was at work. He wasn't there yet.
Right.
It's when I called him the evening to pick me up, I told him what happened. And so when he came, I did not even went home at all. I was in no condition to even leave the hospital.
Sure.
Never mind to go home. So I head straight down to New York Hospital.
Yes.
Because I wanted to see my baby.
Of course.
And so when I went there, he already had the surgery.
Okay.
And so he was he was in worse condition than when he left the hospital, because after the surgery, he couldn't.
It was so little.
It was so little and everything, and just to look at him with all the tubes all over him and see him scrunching and going through that pain. As a mother, I started to cry. To cry all over again.
And they wouldn't let you touch him then after either.
I could not touch him.
He needed to be isolated, yes.
I could not touch him because of all the strings that he was attached to. I could not touch him. However, before I left there, that same Monday evening, I watched him and I could see that he was in distress because he wasn't breathing too good. So I beckoned to the nurse. I said, can you look at him, because I realized that he's not breathing too well. And so they came and they gave him a suction. And I had to step from beyond that room. I
course.
could not stay there to watch him, the suction him. So when I was beyond the room, I could hear him crying, and the more he cry, is the more I'm crying.
Of course.
And so that was that.
So now your husband's with you, though, because
yes, he was with me.
So the two of you are there, hoping and praying and doing
Yes.
anything possible.
Anything possible.
Talk to your son.
Yes, but my husband was strong, even though as a father, he was going through the same pain I was going through. But as a mother, you are more emotional.
Remember, you had just had a baby.
Had a baby, yes, and so he was there, holding me up. I could see my husband, like one tear shed here and one tear shed here, but he would quickly dry it up because he wanted to be strong for me, and so I stood there for many hours until it's time for me to go home, because it was snowing in New York at that time. It was cold, and I was in bad shape.
Yeah.
And so I went home.
Who was taking care of your other child?
My sister was taking care of Marlon, my oldest son. He was a toddler at that time. He wasn't even 2 years yet, because it was 6 months after I had him. Then I got pregnant with Craig.
Yeah, so you had that. But, even it's so emotional, even having you talk about it. I mean, and what I want to tell everybody, though, is the book is just like the interview. When you read this book, it comes out just like real words talking. That's why I admired you so much, the way that, because you weren't a professional writer, but you somehow put it all down, and it really gets to you. You really know how you are feeling.
Yes, because that is why it's a non-fiction book, because it's a real life story.
Yes.
And it comes out naturally.
Yes.
And so that is why I have to, if you see in my book or my other books that I read, that I always give honor to God. Yes. Because I think He's the one who I know that He's the one who gave me the inspiration to write these books.
Yes.
And to go through the ordeal for me to be able to tell somebody
yes.
that whatever you go through in life, no matter the circumstances, and that is why I've also dedicated the book to all mothers, yes. because I know, just like you, Anita, you can relate to the story of the pain that you can go through being pregnant, and having a child, raising a child, how devastated it can be. And so with the help of God and prayer, that's what see me through.
So let's now follow through. So now you have this darling little infant, and he's struggling, and it's not over yet. Even though that operation, it was almost too much for him, wasn't it?
Yes. And he had to support the colostomy bag for 1 year. So
they put a colostomy bag in there.
Yes.
And I mean, can you imagine? I can't even imagine the size of that bag. I mean, you think about, it's this little, like it's a hand. And I'm wondering, so how that, he didn't know the difference at the beginning because he was so little. But so how long did he have to stay in the hospital before you could take him home?
He stayed 1 month.
1 month.
Yes.
Then they had to teach you how to deal with this.
Yes. But when the first time when they took the colostomy bag, took the adhesive off to show me the area where the colostomy was. And when I saw the colostomy,
you must have fainted.
I fainted.
No, I'm sure you would have. I can understand.
I fainted, right? I fainted. So they had to give me Epsom salt and smelling salts to revive me. And so the nurse. When I hear the nurse say, "Okay, Mrs. Simon, if you're not able to take care of the baby, then we have to keep him in the hospital." So when I
said, "Okay,
when I hear
Marva,
that,
get yourself up."
I got myself up together and I said, "No, I can do this. I can do this." The oh no, not my baby is that is a struggle from here to there, and it continuous struggle that I go through. And I said, oh no, not my baby. It's not going anywhere. So whatever it takes as a mother, I'm fighting, I'm struggling so that my baby would not be taken back. I have to fight to keep this baby.
He needed you.
Yes, and
he
so
needed you
and
to
so
be
that's
there.
that's the title. Oh no, not my baby.
I mean that was a great title. It really made a big impression on me. And so, okay, so now you're faced with cleaning and taking care of the colostomy bag, but you had it there. He was there for a month, so he gave you a lot of training. And you came in every day to.
Every day I was there. Yeah. I did not miss one day. I had to be there to make sure that he was okay, because I want him to go home.
Yes.
But he wasn't ready until that 1 month. They had to make sure it was okay.
We have Seth Levy is listening, and Paul Viatica is listening also to this on Facebook. But this is a story that I'm sure men, even though we think it's only women, you talked about your husband. I mean, to see your new little baby, even if it didn't belong to you, you would feel badly.
Oh, yes. You see, two men, they have a lot in common with us women rearing our children. Not because that they do not share the emotional tears like us, but they go through the same pain because it was his baby also. And so it was a rock. And I'm sure that there are many men that are out there too, that they are rock for their wives while they are going through. He would not tear down or cry or get weak when I am. So he was strong for me.
So tell me, so now you learn how to take care of a colostomy bag.
Yes.
Did they say that eventually they will reconnect?
Yes.
And that's but they didn't know he was so little they couldn't do it so quickly, could they?
No. It took a year. They told me that he have to be there, it have to be on for 1 year. And so during that time, I had to make sure that everything was okay, that he did not develop infection. That's why I said the area had to be kept clean at all times. And so I did it. It was an extraordinary job to make sure that did not happen.
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day, yes. And so after that 1 year, I took him back. And the fight began when the doctor told me that he's not ready to be reconnected. After he told me that I'm going to do a test, after when that year, almost to the year, I did a test. And that test, he passed that test that I had to. So when I took him back after that year, the doctor told me that he's not ready. And I know that it was was a fight.
Well, let me ask you, so how was he as a baby with having that? Did he crawl? Did he do everything else?
Oh yes, he was like a normal baby. The only difference is that he had the colostomy bag, and if a person did not know that he had the bag, they would not know that he was a sick baby.
And he didn't really know that that's not what all babies have.
No.
See, so you knew, but he didn't
I knew,
know.
yes. And so I tried to protect him from taking him out to other people, to visit, take him out. So I literally stayed home with him all the time because I did not want him to be exposed.
And you didn't want anyone else doing this because you knew what you put too much time and effort in. Yes. He was doing well, right?
Yes, he was doing well.
Now, why did they say it wasn't ready yet to attach?
I know that it wasn't the doctor, because the doctor that I came in contact with for that 1 year, I knew that the doctor was a very intelligent person, and what he was doing or saying to me, that did not come from him. I know it was a fight, and I don't know if there's a spirit, in heaven, and a spirit on the earth, and every day we come against spiritual wickedness each day in high places. I know that the devil wanted the baby dead because of the struggle that I went through here and there with him. Because when the doctor told me that he's not ready, I knew that was not the doctor who told me that. And so I demanded that day that the doctor, I said, you told me that if he passed that test, that it was ready to be reconnected. And so that same day, it wasn't even 2 hours or any long period of time after, I told the doctor, I stood up to the doctor and I said, no, you told me if he passed this test, he's going to be reconnected. And I said, he's ready. And so when I told the doctor, because with the authority that was invested in me as a child of God, I knew that it was a spiritual warfare. And when I told the doctor that he's ready, the doctor said, okay, Mr. Simon, wait just a few minutes. And within a few minutes, the doctor called upstairs to somewhere upstairs where you want to call or some connection. And then he called me back in the room. He said to wait outside for a few minutes. And I went back in the room and he said, Mr. Simon, the baby is ready. Because after Eddie morning, I said, I'm not taking him home today from the hospital. He's going to be reconnected.
Amazing.
And so the doctor said, Mr. Simon, the baby is going to be reconnected today.
Okay, so now this is a very serious operation.
Yes.
So how long did they...
They reconnected him, and he's supposed to have passed his stool the second day. He did not pass his stool until 6 days went by, and no stool. The baby became almost black and blue, and his belly was so extended. His little belly was puffy. You could see that the baby was almost dying. And so after he came to me on the 6th day and said, Mr. Simon, we don't know what happened. This is abnormal for us to have had the surgery, the baby to have had the surgery, and then he cannot pass his stool even the 6th day. And he said he had to go back to him and in him again and do another surgery.
Oh, for heaven's sakes! Oh,
with the faith and the prayer and
such
everything.
Pain just listening to you.
And I said to him, Doctor, you do what you have to do.
Yeah.
And I will do what I have to do.
Yes.
And so I left from upstairs and I was on my way down to the elevator. And I was just saying, I said, God, it's me and you. And when I stepped into the elevator, on the floor I saw a dollar bill, a $1 bill. I've never seen that color of a $1 bill before. And I said, oh, strange. So I had a jacket on because it was cold, and I took the $1 bill up and I put it in my pocket. I went downstairs in the cafeteria to have something to eat. And when I came back upstairs and at the baby's bedside, I could hear the baby start passing gas.
That's what you wanted, right?
Yes. When I pulled back the baby's diaper and I looked at the stool, it was the same color as the $1 bill.
For heaven's sake.
I screamed out and I said, Doctor, nurse, this, everybody was just running in.
Right.
And when the doctor came, he said, oh, Mrs. Simon, and he patted me on my back. I said, this is what I was looking for.
Yeah. So that was it, wasn't it?
That was it. And it was just going on and on. You told the nurse to pile up the diapers so he could take samples, and that's what they were doing.
And so that was it, wasn't it?
That was it.
Yeah, that was it.
And so, oh my gosh.
So, and today I think he's in his 20s, if I read.
Oh no, he's 30.
Oh, 30. He's in his 30s.
33 to be exact.
Right, and he has his own son.
And he has his own daughter, 7 years old.
Sorry.
He's married and have his own daughter.
I mean, this is such a happy story about what you went through. And so what made you then decide you had to write a book about it?
I always have this desire to write a book, because like you see, this is my 3rd book.
Yeah. And
so I said, whatever you go through in life, I want to write about it so that somebody can see and can know, that whatever you go through in life, you're not alone.
No.
And despite the challenges that you go through in life, if you trust in God, if you know God and you trust in God, because whatever you go through, you can never bear it alone. It's too much. If you was to go through a problem in life, all by yourself and don't have anybody to trust and to pray to, you can't do it by yourself. It was too much.
Well, I have to say, and I know we've run out of time. I've let you go longer because I just couldn't stop. But the book is Oh No, Not My Baby, Prayer, Peace, and Thanksgiving During the Difficult Time of Childbearing by MARVA Simon. It's very exciting, and it's as exciting as it is to hear you. I mean, if you get the book, it is very, very thrilling, and you are one wonderful woman, and you certainly are an inspiration, and I am so glad that you came here to tell us your story.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it was a pleasure to be here, and I wanted to say thank you so much for responding.
Yes, it was my pleasure, really. It was a wonderful thing, and thank you so much, Marva.
Thank you.